All right, everybody. Should we get started tonight? We got a lot to talk about. Really appreciate you coming out. I want to welcome everybody to this Emergency Bargaining Council with SEIU, Florida Public Services Union. Bear with us tonight, right? We're trying something very new. We've got, how many people we got online, Andrew? 60. About 60 folks online. We're trying to bring everybody together, so bear with us with the technology. We know it's not easy out there, but that's why we're doing this, because the times are unprecedented. This union has organized the meeting because we want to know what you think our bargaining team should do in this wage dispute with the city. But to make this decision meaningful, we wanted the opportunity to explain the situation from our perspective and allow the city to do the same. What we've seen is a lot of widespread confusion about what's at stake and how the bargaining process really works. We take responsibility for that right now, right here. But we're really not here to persuade tonight. As much as we're here to inform and give you the agency to decide for yourself how we proceed. Our only job as a union at the end of the day is to represent the voices of employees as you see fit. We are only representatives, and many of us are here tonight. I want to ask if the union members in the audience could please raise their hands. Awesome, guys. I want to urge everyone here, when you think of the union, remember these men and women. These are the people that volunteer countless hours and contribute to our mission every single day. I'd also ask for our members to please welcome all of our non-members here tonight for this important conversation. We welcome all of you as colleagues and as equals with a common cause. We want to be able to work and survive with dignity to make decisions on our own behalf. Thank you so much for being here, guys. Give yourself a round of applause, please. So how is this going to work? Pretty straightforward. What we're going to do is we're going to start with presentations from the city and also from the union. Each are going to get the same amount of time. Then we're going to break into groups and discuss. We're going to have 30 minutes for that at our tables. And I want to really stress this. The goal at these tables is to see if we can reach consensus. If we can reach agreement on how we move forward, that's really the goal here. After we have our breakouts in the groups, we're going to report back. That's when we're going to ask one delegate from each of your tables or groups to give us a sense of what was discussed at your table. Did people agree? Did they not agree? Why? After that, the rubber hits the road when we vote. And this is an important part of the process. We want to be really clear about that. We're going to vote deciding with an anonymous virtual ballot. And the count is going to be conducted by bargaining unit, right? We've got blue collar here, white collar, and professional employees, but we're going to break those out by each bargaining unit. That vote is going to serve as an official recommendation to the union bargaining committee, who is prepared to respond tonight if the vote results show a consensus of more than 60% in any direction. That's important. You guys get what I'm saying? We want to get to consensus. If we see consensus emerge tonight, your bargaining committee is prepared to respond to that, but they need to see more than 60% in either way. Regardless of the vote results tonight, the bargaining committee will respond to what you've said. Want to go over real quick just some expectations for this evening. Pretty basic, I probably don't need to go over it, but it's important. Is discouraged. You're here to speak. Please make sure that every one of your coworkers here is given a chance to speak. We really want to make sure that as you're talking to each other and you're hearing the report backs from your coworkers, let us know if you support that. We want to show respect. I'd encourage throwing thumbs up, thumbs down, clapping. It's important we get a sense of how people are feeling, okay? Obviously, no personal attacks, violence of any kind will be allowed. If that's something we have to deal with, your vote will not be counted. Lastly, I'd ask that you please assume the best intentions of all those here tonight. We're trying to do the best we can for the most we can. And although we might disagree, I think we're all here because we believe we can resolve this democratically, fairly, and transparently. So let's go over a couple of things before we get to the presentations from either side. Given that we've seen a lot of confusion about this process, we want to really explain what this bargaining process looks like. Like I said, our goal tonight is not to persuade. We are here to inform so that workers can decide for themselves. So quickly, let's review the bargaining process to make sure we're all on the same page. It's pretty simple. First, we negotiate until we reach agreement. Currently, we've had more than 10 sessions with the city to try and get to that point. But as you guys probably know, we are still in negotiation. If we reach agreement, the bargaining team will agree tentatively to the terms of the agreement and sign off on that. This is really important. That last step, ratify. Ratification is the vote that most of you guys are probably used to in the city in your departments. When we vote on our contract, before any agreement can be put into effect that the union has negotiated, it must be ratified by a majority of employees, members and non-members alike. That's why we've invited you here tonight. Typically, you guys get to decide on the cake when it's baked. We're trying to bring you into the kitchen and make sure that the ingredients are sound before we offer it up at the table. So, what happens if we don't reach an agreement? That's why we're here tonight. The impasse. We are here tonight to decide whether we accept the city's agreement or reject it. If we don't reach agreement with the city, we are facing a process called impasse. What that looks like is that we would stop bargaining and take our case to a third party to decide the terms. With a favorable ruling, the city would have to accept our terms. With a negative ruling, we would go back to the city's current offer, and that includes retroactive pay. That third party could be the city council, which could take weeks. It could be a magistrate from the Florida Public Employee Relations Commission. That process could take months. The city does have a say in determining where that process would go. But this is an important point we want to stress. If the union loses any ruling, the employees would receive the city's current offer with retroactive pay. This is not an all or nothing decision. With that said, I'd like to introduce the city's chief negotiator. I believe Kristen Mori is here to present the city's position. Let's welcome Kristen. Thank you very much. I'm going to pull up your PowerPoint here.
All right. Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Aaron, and to the union's bargaining unit for inviting us. I really appreciate it. The more information out there, the better, for sure. And I'm here because I am the chief negotiator, and I've been involved in the negotiations up to this point. But I also want to introduce Chris Goella, who's here. He's our human resources director. Charles Alexander, Labor Relations Officer, is also here, and we will, when you go into the small groups, hang out, closer to the mic, thank you, hang out to the side. We'll stick around. If questions come up, then Aaron or Rick can direct those questions to us if needed, but I do want to genuinely appreciate, send my appreciation to you for participating, because it's exceptionally important. As Aaron stated, the purpose here is to provide you with information. You need it higher? Turn you up a little. Okay. I'm usually too loud, so that's unusual. Okay. Is that better? Can you hear me better? Okay. So the purpose tonight is to provide you with information. I'm going to provide you with a little bit of background on the process, the city as a whole, and also where we are with our bargaining. So we'll go to the next slide if you would. So labor relations and the bargaining process. So the city, through its labor relations staff, negotiates with seven different units. There are three that we're talking about tonight. We have blue collar, was established in 1976, a white collar unit established in 1990, and a professional unit established in 2015. So that's what we're talking about tonight, but I wanted to kind of just give you a little bit more background as to kind of what all we do in labor relations. We also bargain with our police units. We have two, a rank and file and a supervisory unit, and also with our firefighters units, rank and file and supervisory unit. And all of these units are regulated by the Florida Public Employee Relations Commission. So Aaron mentioned that there's a regulatory body that oversees all of these negotiations, and a lot of the process which we use to bargain is governed by statutes. So it's a regulated process, and it's quite a lengthy process all the way around. And with negotiations, those two are regulated to some extent. So we'll move on to the next slide. Okay, thank you. So the status of bargaining, where are we? With FPSU, SEIU, we currently have 3-year agreements in place with all those bargaining units. So we have contracts. We negotiated the pay portions, general wage increase and progression increase for the first year, and we left the second and third year pay provisions open for further negotiations. So that's where we are. We are only negotiating about pay for this year and next year in both contracts. And we are only talking about general wage increase and a progression increase. So that's kind of why we're only talking about two things tonight, because the rest of the contract is already in place. We have met 11 times since July 2nd, and the last meeting was on January 19th, during which the city announced it was the best and final offer. And really, the union is now making a decision on whether to tentatively accept that offer by the city or declare impasse or take another action. We'll move on to the next slide. Thank you. City's current offer is simple and clear, and I want to make sure that we get it out in terms of the clarity of it is really important for our purposes. So we're talking about a 2-year agreement, and I want to make it clear that the city's offer is a 2-year agreement. It's for this fiscal year and next fiscal year, not just 1 year. It's a 3% general wage increase plus either a progression increase of 2% for employees who meet core competencies, or 3% for employees who exceed core competencies. And the retroactivity, we did make an offer this last bargaining session to make that retroactive to the fiscal year start. So it would go back to September 27th, 2021. So anybody who has a class date in between September and now, you would get retroactive pay for whatever increase you are owed. So in total, the city's offering essentially between 10 and 12% pay increases over the next 2 fiscal years. An example might be 10%, 5% each year for those who meet both years. It could be 12% if you get exceeds for both years. It might be 5% this year and 6% next year, depending upon whether or not you meet or exceed your core competencies. So that is the city's offer. Included in that offer, we put in, we discussed with the union some oversight procedures of our evaluation process to try to help ensure fairness, equitable treatment, oversight meaning accountability on the part of those who are giving the evaluations, process whereby employees could essentially read those evaluations up and through their chain of command, and some other protections, because we know this is new. This is not something that you are accustomed to, and we want to make sure that we all, as a team, make this work for the best. Also, the evaluation was largely developed by a committee of our peers. And I say our, I'm a city employee as well, and have a vested interest in this. But I didn't participate, nor did many of the HR staff members. We did have Leslie Furlong, who many of you know, facilitate that process. and we had members from all the bargaining units there, and it was quite a long time, definitely over a year, maybe close to 2 years of developing that evaluation tool. And we did that intentionally so that we could have as much feedback as we possibly could from the employees that this is something that we believe in, that will help us grow, help us develop. And so that's the tool that we're using. And this economic proposal that you see up here was essentially the same economic proposal that the city had made back in September, with the hopes and full intention of trying to get it in place by the fiscal year start. And again, with this offer, the mayor has extended retroactivity, so we'll go back to September. Next slide, please. Considerations when developing the offer. You know, what do we take into consideration? What does the labor team, what typically does administration think about, consider when we are developing an offer? We take comparisons to similar cities and counties similar size in our immediate area. It's essentially our competition. We take a look at the amount of their general wage increases. If they have any progression increases, we take a look at those. Are they giving 1 raise a year? Are they giving 2? Those types of things. We look at the private sector. You know, what's the private sector getting? What are the citizens getting? You know, what are our neighbors, our friends? You know, what are those people who are out in the community getting in terms of pay increases? What are the budget priorities? What is the city investing in terms of new infrastructure needs, capital projects, and of course, city employees and all city employees. The city's currently budgeted at 3% for wage increases, and we're offering 5 to 6%. So just to kind of give you a perspective of what's been budgeted and what's been offered to this point. We take a look at compression, of course, with all employees taken into consideration, total benefits packages, and really long-term budget sustainability. We want stability for employees. This is one of the most excellent benefits, I think, of being a city employee, is knowing that you have a stable job. We don't give huge raises and then have massive layoffs. We want to have a stable budget that's sustainable long-term, so we don't have crisis when times aren't as good. We want to balance, and we also really, when we go to the bargaining table, we listen to the union's stated priorities. What is the union stating as the priorities of the city? And then we try to balance our offer with all these considerations in mind and come up with a fair offer. And I wouldn't be up here. I wouldn't have even accepted the opportunity to be here if I did not think that the city was making a very fair offer. I'd be too embarrassed, quite frankly, to stand up here. I myself believe, and I would only be here if I thought that it was a fair offer. Not that should mean or should sway your vote. I just want you to know kind of where I come from as a negotiator and why I believe that we should really be considering this and talking about it. And then finally, I'll just kind of let you know from my perspective, impasse procedures. And if you could roll on to the next one. Have multitaskers up here. The parties do have the option for a special magistrate, as Aaron mentioned, a third-party neutral to hear this and evaluate whether or not they think the city's position is reasonable, or the union's position is reasonable, or some other position is reasonable. They make a non-binding decision, so they give us sort of their opinion. And their decisions largely are supposed to be based on comparisons with other private and public sector employees in the surrounding area, interest of the public, the welfare, the budget, all of those types of things. Then after that, the parties have the option to go to city council, which then would make a binding decision, but it's a one-year term. So if we do go to city council, I just want to kind of clarify, it wouldn't be the city's last offer. It would be for a one-year agreement, and then we're bargaining then for that third year of the contract. So that, it's a limitation. I just want to make sure you know about it. It's again, a process that's regulated by our statutes. So we have to follow those processes. And then finally, really as a sort of a call to action from my words, from my perspective, I believe that, you all should have as much information as possible and then be able to vote on this. So I would be happy once all of this is done to answer questions, if you want to route those through to the union representatives here and have them bring the questions. If you're still confused about any of this or any of the facts, what it means, please ask questions. We want you to be informed. I want you to be able to vote and have a voice about this, and we want to make sure that you are confident that you are getting clear, unbiased, honest, transparent information, that we are, you feel like you can trust the information that you're getting, and that we're a team in this, and at the end of the day, we're all a team in this. It's not an us versus them situation. We're employees too. The mayor is a big part of your team, and you all are a huge part of our team, and we want to come out of this, together in the best place we can. So with that, I will turn it back over to Aaron.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. With that, we're going to hear the union's position, and with that, we're going to hear from our bargaining team member, Kimberly Weiss, and her coworker. I don't know his name.
Run over.
Thanks for being here.
Hello, everybody. All right, before I get started, I see a lot of you guys kind of skulking in the background here. Come on, join us, sit at the tables, come join us. Violetta, join the, come here, woman.
Really though, really.
Get over here. Usually she leads the charge there, that one. All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Kimberly. I work right next door at the Johnson Community Library. I'm one of the members of the bargaining team who has been in the negotiation sessions this year. And I really want to thank you all for coming out tonight. This is a majorly important topic, and I appreciate you guys taking the time, the energy to come out tonight. I also want to thank Kristen and Charles and Chris Guella and all of Labor Relations team for participating. This is a really unique event. And honestly, this is really exciting. I'm glad that we've been given this opportunity to let everybody participate in this process. So as stated earlier, the agreement is only looking at Article 18, which is the article that covers our raises. So there are 4 parts to this proposal: the general wage increase, step progression raise, retroactive pay, and evaluations. We've gone to the negotiating table many times, and we have always had a positive relationship with Labor Relations, working together to bring the workers a good contract that both sides can be happy with. And this year has not been different from previous years in a lot of ways. We agree more than we disagree. We agree on a 3% general wage increase for all employees. We agree that retroactive pay should be from September 27th. We agree that the city workers should have annual evaluations. And finally, we agree that we want to reach this agreement with the city quickly. However, we do disagree with the city on 2 main issues. Those areas are on a 1% difference in the raises between our proposals and on the way those evaluations would affect this raise. So let's talk about the 1%. This may not sound like a lot, and it may seem frivolous, a frivolous thing to get hung up on. But there are 3 reasons why the bargaining team has continued to fight for that extra 1%. Thank you. Aha. We're connected. All right. So first, this is actually a significant difference. So as this slide shows, for people working in my pay range, the difference between a 2% raise and a 3% raise for 1 year is 300. Yeah, 350. Sorry, I have it written down here. So some of you may know, I am, on top of being a full-time employee, I am the only wage earner in my tiny little family, and I'm the caregiver to my disabled husband. So this month the bills hit hard, and we had some unexpected expenses, and I had to borrow money from friends. Thank you, Vanessa and Stephen. This raise would have helped me a great deal. This slide also shows the next slide, the 750. So this one shows the higher wage earners in the city. That difference is much more pronounced. Second, the cost of living didn't go up 5% this year, which is all the city's proposal would guarantee. It went up 6%. Anything less than 6% is a pay cut, not a raise. The city's total proposal is below the cost of living unless your supervisor says that you exceeded expectations this year. Considering that we are in the middle of a housing crisis, where many of us can no longer afford to live in the city we work for, this is unacceptable to us. If the city wants to remain competitive and retain their good employees, they're going to have to pay us enough to continue to live and work here. Not paying a raise equal to the cost of living is wage suppression. Finally, this is not just about the 1% difference this year. This is also about moving through our pay bands and being able to retire. Going back to the 35 slide, after only 3 years, that 350 difference has ballooned to a difference of $1,050. Now I'm sadly very, very far away from retiring, but I know a lot of people working in libraries who have worked here for over a decade who are not close to reaching their cap, and they are waiting until they make a little bit more money for their pensions. So the second area we disagree on is how evaluations would affect our raises. The bargaining team and the city have agreed that we would like annual evaluations, and the bargaining team has asked that we be involved in developing those evaluations so that they are fair to city workers before they're tied to any incentives, especially pay. There are 3 problems that I see with the evaluations. First, the evaluations would require management to get them done in a timely manner they have yet to achieve. Labor Relations has already said they don't have the manpower to make sure those evaluations get done. So workers would be waiting for their raises until their supervisors get around to doing them. Second, the evaluation system as it stands right now is inherently unequal. They are subjective, and all the power is in the hands of the supervisors, none in the hands of the workers. This inequality has lasting repercussions, and we are concerned that the system will only create further inequity as these differences in pay bands expand throughout the years, negatively affecting women and persons of color in particular, as is no surprise. The bargaining team has suggested a system where workers have the opportunity to also evaluate their supervisors so that the evaluations are more equal, but this was rejected.
Currently, the city's offer demands that we exceed expectations. And I have asked Ron here to speak on that a little bit more. They've demanded we exceed expectations to get a raise only equal to the cost of living. In general, an incentive to exceed expectations should be more than the bare minimum. But to suggest that any of us here has not exceeded expectations this past year is especially egregious. I don't have to tell you, we have worked through 2 years of a pandemic, taking on our normal duties under abnormal stress, as well as the extra duties presented by last year's unprecedented challenges. We have all exceeded all reasonable expectations this year. So to recap, the city's proposal is a guarantee to a raise less than the cost of living unless you exceed expectations based on a faulty review system. The bargaining team's proposal is a raise equal to the cost of living with an agreement to work on a review system that would be fair and equitable. Tonight, we're asking you if you want to accept the city's offer or reject it. Now, I want to introduce my coworker, Ron Overing. He sent me a text this afternoon that made me cry my own tears. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ron Overing.
Hi, everybody. I'd like to talk a little bit about what it means to have expectations and the ways in which we are exceeding them. 3 of my friends died in the last 2 months. One was yesterday. 3 of my friends have died in the last 2 months. One was yesterday, and another was 2 weeks ago. I grew up here, and then I moved back to the city to help my terminal parents. They've managed to hold on, but the hospitals are almost always full. Their staff almost breaking down. I work hard at my job. I know that you all work hard at your jobs. We try to do the right thing, but there is literally no plan to end this plague. 3,600 people died yesterday. More of my friends and neighbors or family will die before this is over. So imagine having to do a review for money that would make my life a little more bearable. Try to do it with a clean and clear head when you're knee-deep in unresolved sorrow. I feel like this is a constant state of the workers in this city. If we're granted that extra 1%, our income still has less purchasing power than it did last year. The bonuses that we're asking for still puts us behind inflation, especially when you consider the housing market rises. We are already only asking for a little less than what we were worth last year. The city put up signs calling us heroes. The library staff, we help people do Social Security and get their stimuluses and their taxes and to get housing. City workers clean the streets, the red tide, we manage the waste. We keep this city together. But the city doesn't seem to want to keep their employees. We're fighting a plague and a housing crisis. They could be fighting to keep us. But instead they're making us fight for that extra 1%, and that really feels like a kick when we're down. Yeah. When a hero's down, you don't kick them. You give them a hand up.
Thanks, and I think with that, we want to introduce the chief negotiator for our union. He's going to kind of wrap up where we go from here from our position.
Hey, everybody. Yeah, I'm the chief, let me take this off. I'm the chief negotiator on this contract. I've probably been, I can't count, but it's been since Mayor Baker days, been negotiating city contracts all the way through. So, obviously I've talked to a lot of city workers about this. Some who are considering voting for the offer, and you should if that's the right decision for you. But in those discussions, I never heard one person say, we don't deserve what the union's offer is. In fact, they said we should get more, we agree, but I am a realist, right? Like most of you are a realist. So, you know, the real issue on whether you deserve it or not, it's not a question. If we took a vote right now, it'd be 100%. I think the real questions that some people have is about the process. So these are the questions. One, if we lose at impasse, am I at risk? Not me, you. Are we at risk if we lose at impasse? In other words, are we going to get punished for it? Two, how long is this going to take till a final ruling, right? That's a question. It's a legit question. And finally, this is the biggest question to me, should be to you too, I think, and probably is. Do we have the unity and strength we need to win? Let me try to answer some of these, and this is technical, right? So unfortunately, we've got to go a little bit deeper into the impasse procedure. Again, to answer those questions, sorry. By the way, just a note here, we can continue to negotiate at any point in this process, all the way up to impasse and even on the day of impasse. We're always committed and ready to go back to the table, even if impasse is declared. So everyone get that, right? We can still negotiate. So there's two roads to go down for impasse. I'm going to try to make this not so boring, right? One is to go before what's called a special magistrate. That's the PERC procedure. The other is you have the option to go directly to city council. Let's look at these two paths. If it goes the magistrate's way, the magistrate can only recommend based on the final offers. And I say recommend because get this, the magistrate's decision is only a recommendation. He's not a judge. It's not a binding ruling on any party, not on us, not on the city. Why you go there, I really don't know. And if you go the magistrate route, guess what? Guess where it ends up anyways? City council, right? So there's a big middleman there, right, that will hold this thing up. If the magistrate's recommendation is that the union, I think Christian said this, I think everyone knows this. If the union loses, say, in front of the magistrate, what happens? You would get the 3% GWI, this is if we lose, and the 2% progression, which is tied to evaluations. That's what you would get. So you would get a 5% raise if you passed if you passed with your supervisor, and all that pay is retroactive. Everybody understand that, right? Do you? Okay, good. Now the process, how long it takes. This is something too. It usually takes 4 to 6 months. I've never seen anything at 3 months, but I guess there might be, but it's about 6 months is probably the average. I'm going into one in March, going to conduct an impasse hearing. It's taken 7 months to get there. If it goes directly to city council, it's 4 to 6 weeks. A quick decision that ends this whole thing. 4 to 6 weeks, we have the option to do that. Now, just there are some differences. Kristen mentioned the one, as if this does lose, like a city council, it's 1 year, but we didn't propose 2 years. It's like inflation is too worrisome. I don't want to lock anybody into, and I don't think be locked into a deal where you're going to fall completely behind. We need to go to the table next, and we need to go to the table next year because our proposal says we need better safeguards around evaluations and workers having the right to evaluate their supervisors. So being a realist, once again, please approach this realistically. You have a 99%, the other thing that the city can do is Technically, in the law, the city council could say, oh, you get more money, and completely throw everything out. Or they could say, oh, you get less money. I poured over public records on this. I've never seen either of those things happen. I want you to be realistic. It doesn't happen like that. I have not found one public record to indicate that. And I've been to impasse with the city before. Guess what city council did? Took the final offer. That's what they were deciding. Now, so what's the risk? The risk is you want to get the union's offer, right? The worst that could happen to you on impasse is you get 5%. Well, you don't get 5%. You got to pass your evaluation under the city's plan to get that extra 2%. So it might be 3, it could be 5. For the majority of people, it'd be 5. I think that's fair to say. So the risk factor, there is none. There's no risk going to impasse. How about the speed? You heard about the speed. If it goes to city council, 4 to 6 weeks. If it goes to the magistrate, 5 to 7 months. When you add on the extra time, then he has to go back to city council again. We have a very clear position on this. We want this done, right? Everyone needs to get their money. Let's get a final decision, quick decision from city council. Now, do we have the power to do that? No, that's completely up to management. Both sides have to agree to go directly to city council. I don't know what the city's going to do on this. I really don't. But if they choose to go to the magistrate, that's what we'll be going to, and they will be choosing to prolong the process by months and months and months. But they can choose that. If they choose that we agree with you, we need to get this thing done, then we'll go to city council. 4 to 6 weeks. We could barely put a ratification vote together in 4 weeks, you know? And by the way, if a group here tonight gives a strong indication, that 60% kind of indication, because we have to take that into consideration. Everyone's not here, right? So we're like, okay, we need to see that it's for real. If any group, blue, white, or pro, says we want to put that up for ratification. If that's agreed to tonight, you don't get to go to impasse. So you've already are voting. Everyone gets to vote, and that's the ratification vote. Everyone in the city, you know the routine, the little boxes, etc. That's a ratification vote. But if you're taking that vote, you have no option to go to impasse. So if the others go to impasse and get more, you don't, because you already said we want to take it to a vote. That has to be very clear. That is the rule. So I don't want to take up any more of your time. I'm sorry so much of this was technical. The final question, the biggest one. Honestly, the biggest question. Do we have, this is union, non-union, everything. Do workers in the city of St. Pete have the unity among city workers to work together to get what we deserve? Tell you the truth, I can't answer that. Only you can. Only you guys can do that. But it's clear from this is my 50th year in the labor movement. I should get applause for that. So with all that said, the union recommends a no vote on the city's proposal and moving quickly and directly to city council to resolve this issue. We will be holding another one of these meetings very quickly with all city workers again. We're all brothers and sisters about how we can up our chances of winning by building the broadest and strongest unity. And we'll be making our plan together. Thank you. I hope that was helpful.
Thanks, everybody. Now the real fun begins. We're gonna break out into groups. I guess a lot of you already are. That's when I was saying, all you in the back, you gotta come up, break into groups. We are gonna deliberate until 8:15, and then we're gonna be reporting back. After the report backs, we're gonna be voting. Make sure you guys are picking one person from your group to do report backs. If you have any questions, please flag us down. We'll get answers for you.
Hey, Aaron, this is Kathy. I got a question.
Yeah.
If it's passed tonight, when is it going to take effect? Is it like 1, 2, 3, 4 paychecks away? Do you have a time frame?
What we're talking tonight is a recommendation for the bargaining committee to move forward. So it's not a vote on the official contract like you're thinking of a ratification. As I was kind of saying earlier, this vote is whether we accept the city's deal or whether we reject it. And it's pretty much like we're asking folks to kind of determine before we take that to a vote if we should agree to that. This is not a ratification vote to approve the agreement. This is a vote to recommend whether we should accept it or move it to a ratification. Does that make sense? This technical process is often confusing. Please.
It makes sense. It makes sense, but the question is, if the vote is yes to accept, what happens next? What's the time frame?
We will get a response from the bargaining committee as soon as the votes come in. They will be kind of responding to that. What we were saying earlier in the meeting is if there's more of a mandate than 60%, the bargaining committee is prepared to respond. But after the vote, they will respond to what the results are. But we've never done this before, so there's really no kind of time frame. We're trying to get everybody to have input on the bargaining team before we make that decision. So it's kind of instead of kind of voting on the cake after it's baked, we're trying to make sure that people like the ingredients before we do that.
Okay.
Hey, Aaron, I have a question.
Absolutely. Is that Paul?
It is. So at your last bargaining and negotiation, when you rejected the city's offer, why did you refuse to take it back to a vote to the union as a whole?
That's not true. In fact, I mean, what we have said is that we don't present contracts to our members that we don't believe they will pass. We never denied a vote to our members. That wouldn't be legal. As we said earlier in the presentation, it's a legal requirement for all city employees, members and non-members to vote on any agreement we agree to. So the idea that we wouldn't let people vote just doesn't make any sense. I can't speak for the city. All right, guys, I think we're gonna go to report backs. We can talk all night long, but let's wrap this up and move to our report backs. What we want to do now is get a sense of what everybody said in the room. Let's bring it together, guys. What we're hoping to do is get one person from each of your tables to come up here, give us a couple-minute statement about what y'all said at the table. Are you agreeing? We want to get a sense of where the room is at. Let's bring them up, guys. Don't be shy. One person from each table. Where are we at? Thanks, brother. Got you. If you can, guys, go ahead and line up over here. Test, 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 test. If you can hear my hand, clap once.
to reject. And from my experience in recreation department years ago, the city tried 5% on your performance. What happened was some rec centers you would get judged the right way, and other rec centers there was a lot of favoritism, and the whole rec center would get a 5% raise. But yeah, you got these people over here doing their work, and we're only getting 3 or 4. And I think that's going to be a continuing problem. And then also in sanitation, we have supervisors that are going to be judging us that never drove a truck. Our last 2 people. Everybody agrees, thumbs up.
Consensus? Okay, thank you very much. Go ahead. Introduce yourself if you would, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, I'm Cameron Pomeroy. I work at the water treatment plant down at Plant 3, and my table's in the general consensus that the city's offer is extremely disrespectful. And, this 6%, even though it's not that much, it is a start, and we've all been through this. We've had management in charge of our reviews forever, and no one's allowed to get too low and no one's allowed to get too high, and people are always middle of the road, and you're really getting judged by people who have never done this work ever in their lives. They sit inside in the computer at the AC while you're out there killing yourself, And so this city's becoming increasingly hard to survive in, and this 6%, it's a start, but it's not enough. So, thank you.
For more people to speak, if you want to report back to the table, we're going to try and get some folks from online here, though, real quick, okay? And I think we have Petya. Petya there? Can you unmute, Petya?
I'm here.
All right, you got the floor.
Well, we think that government is supposed to be fair, impartial, and consistent at all levels, and having the ability for employees to be able to rate their supervisors, managers, and be able to get the vacation time off, and having the tools that they need to perform their job, as well as having a good bonus for doing such a hard work at the end of the year is very fair. And we believe that the union is a go.
Thank you, Petya. And was everybody in your group pretty much in agreement, or was there kind of a disagreement?
My group was only of 3 people, I believe, and we discussed everything, and I believe, came to an agreement that we should, as employees, be able to evaluate our supervisors.
Thank you so much, Petya.
Thank you, guys.
I'm going to go real quick to one more online. I think we've got Patrick. Patrick, if you want to unmute yourself, you got the floor, brother.
Hey, guys. So I was in group 3. I think I had 1, maybe 2 individuals in that group that wanted to continue to bargain, to possibly go to impasse. I think the majority of the rest of them wanted to accept the city's offer. But I made it clear, and so everybody else knows too, that when we do this vote is not blue collar, white collar, professionals all combined. It is a separate vote. Blue collar is voting for blue collar, white collar is voting for white collar, and pros is voting for pros. So if pros votes one way and the consensus says to go that way, pros are going to go. But it doesn't mean blue and white collar have to if their votes go another direction.
It's a great point. Yeah, thank you, Pat. Is there anybody else that online, if we want to get speakers, especially if you guys were disagreeing with that offer? Let's hear from you. We'll get them next. Now, people in person, do we have any others that wanted to report back on your group? Come on, guys. Floor is yours.
Yeah, this is Debbie Griffith. I'm with Dot's department, and 5 people in our group. A couple of them were having audio difficulties and couldn't be part of the conversation much, but the consensus in our room seemed to be, let's hold out and see if we can do a little bit better. One other issue one of the issues that comes out of our group is, several of us are maxed out in our positions. So the step increase doesn't affect us personally, but we try to live our lives in the what's best for the group, not just me.
Yeah. Thank you so much. We're going to go to our person here. Please introduce yourself. You got the floor.
I've been sitting with a table of people from the Parks and Rec, and we had a nice discussion about what we all thought. Everybody that works here is a professional at their job. They do above and beyond what they're called to do, and that's apparently why we're called heroes. These guys are out there cleaning dead fish. We're out cleaning up sewage after people. And I think I've only been here for nearly a year, but I don't want to take a 2% raise instead of precedent for the rest of my time here. I'd rather keep things going the way they're supposed to be going.
Yeah. Go ahead, bro.
How y'all doing? My name is Miles Suford. I'm from Stormwater. I'm a EO3. I definitely agree with what Tori said. I've been back to the city 6 years. I've had one evaluation in 6 years. I think that's definitely going to be a problem. Stormwater, we just got called to clean up dead fish. We did what we did. We got threatened if we did not show up, we would lose our jobs. We still came in, and my table is to reject it.
Real quick, I want to try and get some folks from online and make sure everybody's voice is heard. We have some people on the chat saying, hey, we're just hearing from people who support this position. We want to hear from somebody online. If you're saying that we should accept the city's offer, please, we want to hear from you. If you come off of mute, we're listening. Make the case to the people. We'll keep it moving.
Aaron.
Yes, please.
My name's Dave. I think we're hemorrhaging money right now because we didn't take an offer. We're losing 4% right now based on inflation. Your number said slightly higher. How much more money do we want to lose? How much more do we want to bleed?
You're speaking, man. It's not a question. Was that all right. Thank you very much. Next.
My name is Jessica Zamora. I'm with PD. I am in the professional union. Our table did not necessarily come to a consensus. We can appreciate the fact that there are people in this room who are having trouble paying rent, buying food, childcare, all of that. We get that. So if you need your money now, we can appreciate that. On the other hand, what we have also figured out is that a few of us at our table have received this new evaluation. What we were not told, though, is that it was going to happen mid-appraisal. So we were in the middle of our appraisal when they switched over to the new one. We were not advised of the new core competencies. We were not advised of what our new expectations were. We were not advised of how we were going to meet and or exceed those expectations. And to tie our raises to something that has not been told to us, we do not feel is fair.
Just clear a room for anybody online that would like to speak. And I think we're getting close to the vote.
Hi.
You guys getting ready to vote? All right, go ahead online. You got the floor online. Please go ahead.
I'm speaking for room 2, and there was about, my name's Adriana, and there was about 6 of us in that room, and it was actually no consensus. It was split 2 non-speakers, 2 against, and 2 for the vote. I think there was appreciation to each person's point of view, so it wasn't rude or anything like that. But there was concern, and the one thing that was a common thread for the ones that want to vote to wait is that our reviews aren't done in a timely manner. And and that's not for everyone, but there's some departments that don't do it. And then some people in our group said they hadn't had one in 5 years, which is concerning. Whereas I personally, even though I want to vote to wait, I do have a timely review every year. So I feel that if we all vote, we should think about everyone, not just our own personal goal.
Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you. Next. Adrian.
Hi, my name is John Fury. I work at the South Community Library here in St. Petersburg. My table pretty quickly came to consensus that we would like to vote no on the city's proposal. The one thing that we all agreed on, we actually did the math. There was a combined total of 28 years served between all of us, and in that time we had a total of 4 evaluations, and it doesn't really seem reasonable to tie us, especially at this point in time, like to tie us getting our raises to what we can't trust to be a timely process. I mean, it doesn't happen quick enough. It doesn't happen like reliably, at least right now. And as well as that, I mean, the whole idea of getting a total of 6% if we exceed expectations, I mean, at any time, and especially right now, a 6% total doesn't feel like an exceeding expectations reward to me. That's like bare minimum, you know, that's.
Don't make sense, don't make it out.
Right. So yeah, we said no, and we came to a conclusion pretty quickly, so.
Thanks, I appreciate you. Thanks so much. Brother Nick, the orator.
Good evening, brothers and sisters.
What's up?
I see a fair amount of unity amongst us tonight. On my table were people who had a long time service to the city. A number of us are maxed out. So we don't get the 2% or the 3%, we just get the general wage increase. Our consensus was no. The reason being that we want to see people progress through the grades and get to the point where they are making a living wage and they can live within the bounds of this city. So the consensus again was no.
Would anybody online like to report for their group? Kevin? Floor is yours, brother.
Hey, Kevin Jackson. I've been with the city for 14 years, and a lot of you guys in SPTO remember a few years ago we had a director who put out a mandate stating that nobody will get a review higher than a certain level. So this is what we're talking about. We're talking about somebody telling me that I'm not going to give you a higher mark because I just don't like you. Okay, but I find it kind of strange that you want to tie my evaluation to what I do, but the mayor every year can, with a swipe of his pen, just give out 4% to everybody. But us, we got to fight for it, we got to beg for it. So of course, you know, the answer is no.
Go ahead, brother, thank you. I think we're wrapping up. Are we ready to vote, guys? All right.
My name is Richard Cuffey. I'm a member. I'm a member of the union. I've been a member of the union before. It was SEIU and Florida Public Service Union. Fred Winters personally invited me to be a union rep and also a union steward. And all the years I've been here, I'm going on 22 years here, this is the worst that I've seen in negotiations ever. I can respect some of the people that was here before, that they gave a little and they took a little, but they never took away what we've already done. I've seen step raises completely gone. People that are at the top that can't get a raise until we get a wage increase are stuck at that pay until the wage increase goes up. Being there 22 years, I don't care if I don't get a step raise because it's not going to affect me, but people coming behind me have to still make a living in the city of St. Pete. In the city of St. Pete, the cost of living has gone up at least. You guys are giving these percentages about 5 or 6%. It's about 20%. You can't buy a house in my neighborhood in the Harbordale area for under $300,000. I've seen people tear houses down and flip houses and make twice the amount in the property. I'm saying we don't take what they give us, we fight for what we deserve. I had the pleasure of sitting at some sanitation workers sitting at the table with me. I've got a person here, which is Amy, who works with me in the building department, and I'm telling you right now, we've got money that we can give our workers. We're building buildings downtown. We're doing inspections every day. We have never stopped working even since the pandemic. We've been working every day. We do those inspections every day. We're doing, just 2 weeks, done 96 inspections in 2 weeks, and you're telling us we don't have money? We are giving incentives to these guys coming in here building. We're making concessions for them not to have to pay certain taxes. That's right. Listen, we can say we don't have the money, the city have the money, and I believe the mayor will probably be on our side because he's worried about having this place where people can actually live here that don't make a small amount of money, that we have cost of living where we can actually live in a place without spending our whole paycheck to take care of our families. No.
Hey, I just want to thank you all very much for that. I think we got a sense of where people are at now. The rubber meets the road. It's time for y'all to vote. I've just cleared out everybody that was trying to vote before you heard from everybody. Your vote's out. You got to vote now. The vote just opened. All right? You got 10 minutes and the vote's done. says that you already did. Did you? I think you already submitted it. That's usually what it says. Yeah, that's why. Because it's only letting you do it once. No, thank you. Absolutely.
You know, my biggest peeve is the eval.
I think a lot of people.
They're new, they're subjective.
It's not the
They
right
allow
time to
for
be putting them.
favoritism, etc. And they're brand new, they just rolled them out. And they're not a good measurement of the.
I think Jessica said it right. Yeah, like, even if it was a perfect system, we're not ready to do it. Right? All right, my brother. Thanks a lot. Yes, sir. If you're having any trouble voting, I'm not looking at this guy here with no phone. You can come up on the stage. We got a computer if you need to vote. I think people are ready to see. Yeah, we got you. We got a couple stragglers, guys. We're gonna get the vote count here in just a second. I want to still give them a chance to come up and speak. You know what I mean?
They're now just say you have to go somewhere. And you see
I think we got, yep.
Are we tallying tonight?
1 second. Can you type in the URL? Can you type in the web address?
Aaron, that's the second time I'm throwing that thing
Yeah,
out.
I mean, I'll get your vote in. All right.
All right, my vote in. That's what I'm trying to use.
Sorry.
Say?
I just worry because we're losing everybody and we're not going to have a seat.
Where did Kristen go? You know, that's okay. What do I do?
Fill it out. Touch it and fill it out. Put your paper glasses on.
Whose phone do I got?
Mine.
Please provide your job title, not my name.
Yep. They get more personal.
Don't leave before we count the votes now. We're going to reveal this in a second, guys.
Just put out 4. Okay. Push the okay button. Press it.
Well, this is far from unanimous, anonymous.
That's okay. Remember, it's non-binding vote anyway. It seems like a lot of fuss about 1%.
I figured it out.
Thanks so much. Choose your plan.
There you go.
Don't leave without me.
I'm here for you, man. No, I won't.
All right, I think everybody's had their chance to vote. We're going to reveal accounts now, guys. Drum roll, please. Wait a minute, please. All right, guys. We're going to go by unit. We're going to go by unit, blue collar unit. We have more than 85% voting no to reject the offer. Blue collar unit. White collar unit rejects. Okay. More than 80%. Professionals reject by 55, 6, 7, 8%. All right, guys, we want to thank you all for the vote, but the bargaining committee is here. They're the ones that you recommended this to. Can we give them just a couple minutes to caucus? They want to respond to everything that you've said tonight. We want to have a response to your vote. Just give us a second. They're going to caucus. Give us 2 minutes. Hey, in the meantime, while they're doing that, if any of you here have not signed your member card, it's on the back of this agenda. Please sign that before you leave. If you're not a member already, we're inviting you to be a part of the family. Drop it in that ballot box as you leave.
Where do you want? Yeah, it's 80. Wow.